Abigail, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you, Petey. It's great to be here.
I mean, this is pretty crazy because, how it works is it gets announced that, one of your amazing books is going to be a movie, adapted into a movie, and you play the waiting game and it's finally out. Does it hit you that people are able to finally see it?
Yeah, people can see it on Paramount Plus. It is streaming now in the US, Canada, UK, Australia. It's coming to other countries over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's a pretty crazy feeling. What is that? What are those kind of first thoughts of something you wrote that people from kind of all around the world are reading being transformed onto a screen? Like I'm just curious what the first thoughts that come to mind are.
Well, it's been a long process.
Yeah.
The book sold at auction to HarperCollins in 2018, right at the end of 2018. And it was a lot of like working with Harper to get the book ready for publication and just really preparing for a big launch with a big
Yeah.
splash. We from the very beginning, when we went to auction with publishers, like we knew that we wanted film. Like that was part of the pitch with everyone. But my film manager told me at the time, you can't celebrate until you're in the car driving to the premiere. And so for so many years, I mean, it's been like 4 years now. I never let myself celebrate. I was like, okay, we just got to get there. We just got to get there. And so actually my kid had to remind me last week, hey, this is the moment. Like we're in the car driving to the premiere. So it is thrilling now that anyone can watch this film on Paramount Plus. I think that's like, it's miraculous. Like
It's
this thing that's been in
it's
trouble for so long. Yeah.
it's so crazy. Yeah, no, it's funny because the characters are on a journey in the book and in the movie, and to get it kind of out there to everyone, like it's a journey itself for you specifically.
It is. It really is.
um, I'm just curious about the mindset, Abigail, in regards to like it's all storytelling, whether it's like the book series or the film on Paramount Plus. Does the mindset change a little bit in terms of just kind of the creative and like storytelling component of things, or do you see kind of writing the books and it being kind of adapted into a movie on Paramount Plus as all storytelling? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, no, I love that question. I actually do think of it as all just storytelling. I describe that experience of having my work iterated by, it's like by the end of a movie, it's 300 people who are involved. It's like
Mhm.
Loki experiencing the multiverse, Loki
Yeah.
meeting another Loki over and over again. I'm actually very iterative in my own writing. So Loveboat Taipei, the novel, published at draft 31. So, it underwent so many different changes. And then I felt like, well, that just kind of continued with the script being, it evolved. It's basically the exercise of taking 400 pages, shrinking it to a 90-page script. And then even after you have the script, it continues to evolve
Yep.
because actors change things, the director changes things. Like everyone brings their own creative sensibilities to the project, and it kind of becomes its own thing after a while.
And you are also a writer on the movie as well.
So I was not the screenwriter. The screenwriter is Charlie O and Mackenzie Dorr.
Okay.
But I spoke with the screenwriter with
Gotcha.
Charlie, going through iterations, and then I was on set the whole time, giving feedback on every take. And so
So what was
you
that
actually make
like?
a lot of.
Because what was that like for you? Because it's interesting, right? Because it's like at the end of the day, it's like based on your novel, but it's like the movie on Paramount Plus, right? Like so there might be some changes. Like what is that like? I'm curious about that.
Well, I think of the movie as like a very small, delicious slice of the overall Love Boat Taipei story. So there's
Yes.
three novels, Love Boat Taipei, Love Boat Reunion, and Love Boat Forever, which comes out in November and is actually set 6 years later. So we get to
Mhm.
follow the characters, to the, into the future. But yeah, the movie itself, like, try not to give any spoilers, but it doesn't actually end in the same place as the first book ends. Even there's still so much more story to go.
Yeah.
So for me, like it's just a joy to see these characters embodied and on the screen, and they get to be in Taipei, this gorgeous, magical city, with like a kind of a heightened lens. Like I think that the cinematography is just gorgeous, and then of course we get the kinetic energy of the dancers and all those dance scenes. So I think I just enjoy seeing like another version out there. It's kind of like seeing, as like a very smaller analogy, as a writer, you see a lot of fan fiction, right? People
Totally.
create like these cartoons about your story, and so it's like that, except on a much more grand and professional scale. So I'm thrilled.
No, absolutely. You can answer this in regards to the film or the book series. I mean, The thing that I really loved about the movie specifically was this self-reflection component of it, where these characters are kind of going to Taipei and kind of figuring out what the next step is in their life and relationships and everything. And during the pandemic, you know, we did a lot of self-reflection because we had the time to do so, basically. So I feel like you watch a film like this and you see all these characters kind of dealing with this, kind of making decisions, figuring things out. And I feel like Love in Taipei becomes kind of instantly more relatable because of the self-reflection component. I'm just curious if you thought about that at all, because I find that's an interesting kind of link.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I hadn't connected specifically like that, so that's fascinating. We actually did film in Taipei during COVID when Taipei was a closed country, and they were managing COVID really well. So we got to actually have a normal life while we were there. We had to go through 2 weeks of quarantine, and then we could, we're pretty much free to be around, but we were still careful. We had a closed set and COVID tested 3 times a week.
Yep.
But you're right. I think pandemic has changed us all in like a permanent way. Like I think people will be writing about it for years, like what happened to this particular generation. I think what happens when you go through a big shock like that is life. Like, I think we're just less patient with things that don't matter.
100%.
Yeah, we're like, we don't have time to put up with like whatever, wasting our time on things that, ridiculous things. Like, and so in some ways, I think an experience like this where you go abroad, it strips away the world that you knew and it allows you just to see things a little bit more clearly from a different lens. And the characters have definitely gone through that journey too.
Early on in your career as a writer, as a novelist, obviously you want to just create stories and kind of get in there and write everything. But do you ever have, like, maybe after, your first book or two is officially published, do you ever think, like, early on, like, it would be really cool if, like, one of my novels is adapted into, like, a show or a movie? Or is that something that, like, you don't really think about as much? Like, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so I there was no overnight success here. I wrote 5 novels on the way to Loveboat, and I had to bury a bunch of them. Like it couldn't get them through the gates. I remember there was 2 books of mine that came very close. They were read overnight by editors at a big publishing house, and they couldn't get it through marketing. And this was a time before Crazy Rich Asians and Hamilton opened up the world to say, hey, an all diverse cast can actually appeal to a general audience. But with my 3rd novel, I had a big Hollywood agent. And they were excited about making that one into a film. They said, oh, your writing's really cinematic. That's one of the ones that, came close, couldn't get through marketing. Yeah. So I think I got bit by the bug with that 3rd novel. Wow, this could be a possibility. And then with Loveboat Taipei, I could see it also clearly in my head. And I had so many people telling me, hey, this could definitely be a movie. So yeah, it was definitely the hope from the very beginning. And I'm glad we got here to the end.
We established it's all storytelling. You are a storyteller. What excites you specifically about storytelling, Abigail?
I think it's because it's so human.
Yep.
I walk around every day and I have a million story ideas that come at me. I just see something like, oh, some guy could do that or some girl could do that. And those, like when I went to law school, I loved case law. I loved studying the case law because those are all stories of people in conflict situations and how, it was resolved by the court. And I for some reason, I just have a memory for those things. I think those are the ones, for me, that's what I remember. And I think that's what a lot of people remember. Like you may not remember names or what people have said, but you'll remember, like, I'll remember details around them and like the kindness that they showed to another person or, these character moments. Yeah.
No, that's really well said. Last question quickly. I mean, Love in Taipei is streaming now on Paramount Plus. Obviously escapism, having a good time, relating to the characters, all that is that's what you kind of want people to get out of watching the film. Anything else specifically you hope they get out of the film takeaway wise that I didn't bring up specifically?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things. So for folks in the Asian American community, what I want them to see is like, hey, they can be the main character of their own story. Yes. And for many years they were not able to be. And for just for our general audience, for folks like for everyone, like I think just to showcase the humanity of this group of kids and their parents and their families. And I loved being able to do that. Like I had the space with 30 different characters to show the diversity, to show the well-roundedness of each character. So they're not just a stock character playing, the sidekick role, but they are fully developed and fully formed and on the page.
Absolutely. And yeah, the film is streaming now on Paramount Plus. Abigail, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Great to chat with you, Petey. Thanks for your time as well.
If people want to keep up to date with things, is Instagram the best way to keep up to date with everything?
Oh, great question. So I actually have a newsletter so people can actually hear from me directly. It's you can sign up on my website, abigailhingwen.com, but I'm also on social media on all the platforms. I just find that it doesn't always reach everyone like all the time. So newsletter is the best way. For
Absolutely. And we'll put all that info in the description of the video so they can check that out. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Love in Taipei is streaming now on Paramount Plus. Until next time, this is Abigail and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.